All right, chapter 5 is a biggie. We want you to understand chapter 5. In fact, some teachers using this book actually teach chapter 5 first. And I looked at that and decided against it, but it's so important that it is something that some people actually do first. So we are going to talk about observational studies. In an observational study, we observe individuals to measure variables. But do not attempt to influence responses. Observational study. We use observational studies when we want to know something, but it would be immoral or potentially maybe impractical to prescribe some sort of treatment. So for example, let's say I'm a researcher and I want to know if smoking causes lung cancer, right? There seems to be some connection I want to see, going back in time. So I take a group. You guys be my group. And this half, you guys are going to be our smokers. Okay? I'm going to buy you all the cigarettes you need for the rest of your life. You have to smoke at least a pack a day. Okay? You guys are my non-smokers. And as an incentive, I'm going to give you the same amount of money as it would cost to smoke a pack a day to not smoke. Okay? That would be immoral to assign something that we think could be harmful as a treatment. So we can only use an observational study in a situation like this. Now, there are a whole lot of people that have smoked over the years, so we've had a lot to observe. And we have been able to very clearly make a connection between smoking and lung cancer. Versus experiment. In an experiment, we deliberately impose treatment on individuals in order to observe responses. So we deliberately do something or prescribe something or whatever to do that. And that's done regularly in medical situations. We have experiments. We even have human trials where maybe, let's say all of you have the same affliction. The affliction being we're teenagers, right? Okay? And can I be included in that group, please? Okay. And so I have this drug that's going to make, I don't know, dealing with your parents easier. Okay? So in some way, preferably randomly, where some of you guys get the drug and some of you get a placebo or a sugar pill that looks like the drug, so you don't know which one you get. And then I measure the response based on knowing who had the drug and who didn't, if the drug was effective or not. That's an example of an experiment. Presumably the drug won't do harm. That's the hope anyway, and it would have been trialed on other things like mice or something. In both of these, the observational study and the experiment, we have explanatory variables. I can't seem to spell today or any time this week. And the explanatory variables help explain or influence change in a response variable. These would be, on a graph, these would be our x values. Our explanatory is x. The response variable, and I think we took notes on these a while ago. It measures the outcome of a study or experiment. So that's pretty much the long and the short on the observational study and the experiment. Next we want to look at a word that we're kind of familiar with, population. Population is an entire group of individuals that we look to study. Population. And the sample. It's the part of the population we actually examine to gather info about the population. Not only do we gather the info, then we assess it, we analyze it. page 2. Oops, I'm supposed to highlight this. That's pretty important. We need to know sample and population. What's our symbol for population? Oh, we don't know that one yet. What about sample? Remember? N. Remember, little n? Actually, population is big N. We haven't seen that formally yet. Next thing is a census. And we're going to talk about how we can gather data. A census attempts to gather data from every individual in a population. The United States does this every 10 years. They have the 10-year census. And basically what they do is they send out this flyer at every head of household. They don't try to get every person, but they try to get every household or head of household to give some information about the people that live in that house. A couple of the questions that I can think of are, how many people live in the house and what ages are they? And what is the annual household income? Those are a couple of the questions. Both of them tend to bother me a little bit. I really don't know that I want the government to know exactly how much I make, and don't they already know? I think there's a thing called the IRS, right? So paying taxes and stuff. It seems to me like, I don't know. I'm just a bad American. I don't always answer every question that's sent to me. Okay? I get that from my father. A voluntary response sample is next. I don't know if they still do it, but if you don't respond to the census, they'll send people to your house. And I guess if they still don't get a response from you, eventually they send the black helicopters. I don't know. I'm not real sure. They haven't gone that far with me yet. I'm kidding. It's not that big a deal. It's a joke. A voluntary response sample consists of people who choose themselves. Any Taco Bell customers in here? Yeah, a few of you? Come on, I only see 3 hands. You guys, right, okay. Any Taco Bell workers in here? No? Okay. So when you go in and you order Taco Bell, you get the receipt, right? And sometimes they'll point out that there's a survey on the back. Other times it's always on the back. It's like, win $500 if you complete this survey. There's like one winner every, 300 years or something. I don't know what the time frame is, right? So the people who fill out the survey, that's a voluntary response survey. They're choosing themselves to do the survey. And if the survey was just, hey, will you give us some feedback, that probably isn't a very good, what do I want to say? It's probably not a very good way of collecting data. Even with Taco Bell's, well, you can win $500, I'm not sure that I like that all that well either. Here's why. In your survey, you're probably going to get one of two kind of people. Either they're mad Maybe they ordered their taco without meat because they're vegetarian or vegan or something like that. And there was a speck of hamburger in amongst the lettuce, okay? And so they're mad. Hey, this is offensive to me, and so they're filling out the survey. I'll never come back, and I'll tell all my vegetarian friends to stay away too, right? And that's your tail here. Or you have the other scenario where they're exceedingly happy, like, oh my God, you gave my son a job. He's 35 years old. He's been living in the basement all these years. Please give him extra hours. We want him out of the house, right? This is his first real job, okay? Right? So you have your really mad people, you have a really happy people, and then there's probably a few that are kind of in the middle that's like, yeah, it was all right, you know? I want the 500 bucks. The reality is it's not a very good way of collecting data because you end up getting, generally, the tails of the population, and you never really get an idea of what the middle person thinks of it because, you know, yeah, it was Taco Bell, you know. He could have used a little more lettuce, maybe some more cheese. Certainly, you know, I needed to walk out with a few extra packets of hot sauce for, you know, future use, right? Okay. So, next is a convenience sample. Convenience sample is choosing individuals who are easiest to reach. All right, let's say that your stats teacher assigns you a project, and you have to come up with 3 questions to ask the general public. And when I say the general public, I say people that live within the sort of maybe the Centennial boundary area, okay? And you decide that you're going to go to Albertsons, and you're going to stand outside the door for some amount of time, and you're going to, as people exit or come in, you're going to go, hey, do you have a minute? I'm a stats student, and I have like 3 questions for you. Can you help me out, you know? And probably most people would. You're going to get some people that are like, there's the hand, you know, talk to the hand, I got places to go, and that's okay too. But that's a convenience sample. And the problem with a convenience sample is you don't get everybody, it's not representative of everybody in the community, because you would never get the person who shops exclusively at Rosar's or Fred Meyer's or something like that. You would only be questioning people that shop at Albertsons. And that may be a problem. Statistically, we would say that's a problem. So a convenience sample, sometimes it's used for sure, and the example that I give is not a bad idea to do if you were to have an assignment like that, but understand that it's not a perfect way to collect data. Okay, here's the good one. Simple random sample. SRS. This one's going to be with us, well, they're all going to be with us, but this one's a biggie. A simple random sample, there are other things in stats that could use SRS as an abbreviation, but don't use them. It's only for a simple random sample. A simple random sample of size n consists of n individuals from the population chosen in such a way that every set of n individuals has an equal chance of being the sample selected. So not only does each individual have an equal chance of being selected, but each group of individuals has an equal chance of being selected as a group. If you make a sample with a simple random sample selection method, there are many methods that you can use for this, it empowers your statistics. So what I would encourage you to do, not right at the moment, but put this in your notes maybe, read page 337, choosing an SRS. That'll highlight some of the methods for doing this. Certainly we'll talk about many of them over the next days and rest of the year. All right, next is a probability sample. Probability sample is simply a sample chosen by chance. A guy's walking down the street, minding his own business, and from the heavens comes a meteorite streaking towards him at a very high rate of speed, shall we say, and hits him and kills him. He was a sample chosen by chance, okay? Just random probability sample. In that case, the sample would have a sample size of 1. All right, there's one more. I've got to switch to the next page here. At least one more for today. It's called a stratified random sample. You definitely need to know SRS for the AP test. The others are certainly good to know as well. This, I would say, is an AP concept. This is the kind of thing that you will most likely get a question of, maybe a couple questions in multiple choice, and I would say it's a reasonably likely thing that you would get it as a free response as well, or potentially one or the other or both. And what it does is it divides a population into groups of individuals. This is what we call strata. That are similar in some way that is important to the response. Once they're separated into the groups, an SRS is chosen from each strata to form the full sample. So let's say I develop my own line of hair care products, a shampoo, if you will. And it has maybe some unconventional ingredients. And so instead of putting it on people's hair, or having people test it, because you never know, I mean, people might walk around with green hair after using my stuff, we take a batch of mice. And in the mice, we have mice that are all white, we have mice that are all maybe brown, and some that are mixed colors and stuff. So I separate them into the brown mice, the mixed colors, and then the all white mice. And we test the shampoo on the mice to see if there's an effect, a different effect on the different colors of hair. That would be a stratified random sample. Assuming that I randomize the white mice, I pull them out at some sort of random number. Let's say I have 20 white mice and I only take 5, or something like that. So that's grouping them and then pulling numbers out that work for your sample. Does that make sense? Might even group the mice by gender too. It's possible that not only hair color but maybe gender has an effect on whether their hair turns green by my new magic shampoo or not. So stratified random sample. Okay, I need to give you something and we need to go through a problem.